So in 2010, not to get too political, but our current president, one of the good things that he, I guess, has done is he started a panel on cancer. So there's actually what president's panel on cancer. So he brings together the leading researchers in the United States who they can get a hold of to form a panel that tracks why cancers. First, it started off as tracking how often cancers happen and where certain types of cancers happen, and then it moved to tracking why cancers happen and trying to get a hold of this epidemic that is spreading across our country and honestly the world at this point in time. If you look at statistically, the rate of death from cancer has actually not changed since 1950, despite all of our supposed modern medicine and all of our new things figuring out how to treat or fix or cause it to go into whatever you call that. Remission. Thank you. To cause it a remission. The rate of cancer and the rate of deaths of cancer has not changed since, or death of cancer since 1950, which is pretty crazy because they kind of lead us to believe and make us think that it has. So they're doing a lot of things to really improve the situation, and it's coming out now that a lot of the situation hasn't really improved. So they cut. So this panel on cancer, 2010. Again, that's the president of the United States puts out this little thing that says. Right here. So there's a 240-page report that said the true burden of our environmentally induced cancer has been the true burden of environmentally induced cancer has been grossly underestimated. The American people, even before they are born, are bombarded continually with these dangerous exposures. I actually start here tonight because our bodies only get exposed to things by like one of two ways, and one is through touch and actual literal like contact, what we know as contact, and the other is through what we put into us. That's it. That's the only two ways that we get exposed to things. So that's the only two ways that our immune system, I take that back, third is breathing in, so things that we breathe in. So eating, touching, and then what we breathe in. So if you look at our body, as amazing as it is, I have Colette smiling at me in the back. As body as amazing as they are, and we know that the human body is like the most complicated like system on the planet. Like despite all the technology that we have and the amazing things that technology does, it still comes back to our bodies and how they perform blows us away. I mean, just blows us away. So ultimately, the best source to fixing our own bodies is technically our bodies themselves. That is the best source. The question is what has changed or altered, or maybe what have we done that has affected those systems and how they should run or how they should fix things. And that's the whole point of this, is that we are being exposed more and more via these things we're going to talk about, and things that are leading to different health problems. So on this list is, they give 10 recommendations of how to kind of like detoxify yourself or your environment and not expose yourself to all these chemicals that are out there that are causing us cancer now. Number one is only drink filtered tap water. Number two, store food and water in glass, stainless steel, or BPA and phthalate-free containers like this. Boom. Minimize children's and pregnant women's exposure to carcinogens and endocrine-disrupting chemicals, which actually I'm going to hit on that in a second because most people don't really know what endocrine-disrupting chemicals are. Choose fruits and vegetables grown without pesticides or chemical fertilizers. Wash all produce to remove residues. If you think about that for a second, that means you have to eat organic. That's what that means. And I realize that's, for some people, a pretty big step and something they're not quite used to or why they would want to do that. And this is the reason why. It's because the amount of pesticides and everything that we have on our fruits and vegetables now are leading to other health problems. Choose free-range meats that has not been exposed to antibiotics or growth hormones. That, if you know about meat and how to purchase meat and stuff, means you have to eat grass-fed, organic beef or chicken or meat as well as the source for those. Minimize consumption of processed, charred, or well-done meats. Turn off lights, electrical devices when they're not in use. Drive a fuel-efficient car, walk, bike, or use public transportation. That's actually more because of emissions. Check home on radon levels, and then reduce radiation exposure from cell phones. Medical tests, avoid UV overexposure. Which actually, on a side note, I actually thought that was quite interesting. So it's saying reduce medical tests is ultimately what that's saying, which if that is the opposite of what's happening right now in the medical world. But yeah, just to say that. But so these first 5 actually have to do with what we intake or what we put in our body, and it gives us a really good little just 5 points of right off the bat things that we can do to not expose ourselves to some of the chemicals and stuff that's out there. From there, I'll say that if any of these aren't currently on my website, they will be shortly. I just want to give you an idea about some of these chemicals that I'm referring to, and why this actually is a really big deal. So there's this book out there, Nina Baker, The Body Toxic is the name of the book. So this is kind of the section. She kind of goes through and like states like when kind of the history a little bit of chemicals and chemical toxins in the United States. So 1972 was when DDT was banned. A lot of people kind of heard about that whole thing. 1976 is actually when the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency, was first started, which is the protection agency in the United States is supposed to say what chemicals can be used and what chemicals can't be used. And at the time when that happened, 62,000 chemicals were actually just kind of grandfathered into being considered safe, even though they didn't actually run any testing on them. Since then, since it started, the EPA, the only things that it actually has, and this is till recently, I'm not sure about the past couple of years, but only 2 chemicals that actually have been banned are this one, PCB, and then asbestos. Most people are familiar with asbestos. And then there's actually been 3 chemicals that have been restricted. The bottom one, the CFCs, is what most people recognize. But there's actually been no attempt to ban any toxic chemicals since 1989. Coming down. And so, just briefly, want to hit on the worst, what are considered probably the worst 5 that are still like in our environment and we're exposed to on a regular basis. And at the top here, it just mentions that the amount of chemicals produced or imported by the United States in one day would fill up to 623,000 tanker trucks with a capacity of 8,000 gallons each. Again, this list might mean something to you, it might not. I do this more just to kind of show you that these chemicals, like people say these all the time, like, oh yeah, there's BPA in that, you should stay away like from it, or they say like there's bad chemicals out there, be careful what you eat. It's actually true, and then that's kind of my point of running through this quick list again. I don't want to, but is that they're actually, and we know, like it's not like some chemical out there. It's like we actually know what chemicals aren't good and which ones are okay for us. And so the first one, honestly, I'm not too familiar with it, atrazine, which is used in pesticides, but we do know it causes abnormalities, possible human carcinogen. This one you're going to see in most types of plastics. Again, it says found in soap, shampoos, makeup, nail polish. And these are bad enough that unless like they've made an effort to make it like better for you, then chances are they're actually in there. Male indicator disruptor, abdominal obesity, insulin resistance. DPA, kind of the most famous one on that list, is one of the ones we're talking about. Endocrine disruptors, prostate, breast cancer, type 2 diabetes, obesity, ADHD, other neurologic behaviors. There's a couple other ones, and just some of the effects they have: thyroid disruption, effects with babies' weight, birth in the birthing process or the baby's development. And so what's kind of happening right now in our environment is that if it was just one of these on that list, that might be not so bad. But we are being hit with every one of these on this list all the time. Not all the time, but on a fairly normal and regular basis, they're being put into our systems when these are things that 200 years ago no human would have ever consumed or put or intaken. I mean, it just wouldn't have happened. And so at the same time that this is going on, they're realizing cancer levels are going up. They're realizing that all these diseases, particularly psychological diseases, are going up through the roof. It's estimated, so now 66% of Americans are considered obese by our generation. I'll point back to Kelly and I. Is actually the first generation concluded that we will not outlive the lifespan of our parents. So our parents are average to live to like 84, something like that. We're average to live to like 80, 78 is our life expectancy. And so there's a problem. And what's happening is, I don't know if you've noticed within the people you know or your own family, but like, it's not like, it's like everyone's getting sick at the same time. It's like, so older people are starting to have health problems. And some people are like, oh, well, they're older. Well, of course they're going to have health problems. Well, at the same time, like teenagers are starting to have all these health problems. At the same time, our age of people are having all these health problems. When, I don't know, not to put someone on the spot here, but like Scott, as a 20-year-old, did you really have too many like major health problems? And you just didn't see it at that, that even that short a time ago, you just didn't see it. And one of the theories is, well, now we have better diagnostic tools, like we're being able to diagnose people better. That's baloney, because like I'll use autism as an example, because that's the one that's stated the most on. They say autism, we could diagnose it better. That's crap. If that means then if you were to go to 60-year-olds now, if you were to check all 60-year-olds now, then you should still see the same ratio of autism amongst 60-year-olds. It's a lifelong disease. It just does not come and go. You do not see it. It is not amongst 60-year-olds. It's not amongst 70-year-olds. So we kind of get thrown these like things at us, and it's like, I don't know, like who do you believe? Like I hate to bring that, but like we are shown a lot of things and told a lot of things, and you gotta kind of look through the murky water a little bit.